Well, I gave you all the warning last week, and today is the day. Joe Biden is signing a new executive order, a couple of executive orders today related to gun violence. Ooh. I'm going to tell you all about it, and one of them I agree with. So that should pique your interest. One of them I agree with. But let's talk about it. First, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, and that's Lear Capital. Guys, I've been working with Lear for a long time. It's where I buy my physical gold and silver. You take control of it, you can have it, or you can do an IRA conversion and have a third party hold your gold if you don't want to hold it. But hope and change like Obama pushed isn't a strategy to protect your wealth, especially as the dollar bill is spiraling. And with the world banks all buying up gold as fast as they can, there's a reason for that. Check them out. It's 1-800-260-5075, 1-800-260-5075, or leargg.com. There's a link down below as well with the FAQ video I did with Kevin Demerit, who is the founder. And we addressed some frequently asked questions that my audience brought forward. So check it out. All right, so today is the 26th. 26th, yes, it's Thursday, September 26th. I am in San Diego. This time change is destroying me. I don't even know, like, my butt from my elbow right now. I'm out of it. But I wanted to bring you this information because these executive orders are being signed today. Jared, what's an executive order have to do with us? If you didn't see the other video, these executive actions don't affect us per se because they don't have the gusto. It's not a law. It's just an opinion by an administrator. But what happens is what the ATF has been doing for the last, definitely the last 4 years under Biden is he issues an executive order, an executive action, and then they change things and make new rules and try to make things illegal administratively. And that's what they're trying to do again. Shocker, I know, right? So here's right from the press release on the White House website, and let's go over it. It says, today, President Biden and Vice President Harris are announcing a new executive order directing federal agencies to improve school-based active shooter drills and combat the emerging threats of machine gun conversion devices and unserialized 3D printed firearms, as well as additional executive actions that advance the Biden-Harris administration's agenda to reduce gun violence and save lives. Now, this comes as they mark the 1-year celebration of the institution that they started, an office in the White House, the White House's Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which is headed by Kamala Harris. I'm not trying to take anybody's guns, but we want to ban assault weapons, and we want to have magazine restrictions, and we want to have red flag laws and universal background checks, which is a registry. Yeah, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I want you guys to see what they're signing today. First, they talked about combating emerging firearm threats, and it says in April of 21, one of their first executive actions to reduce gun violence was to address the emerging threat of firearms without serial numbers, often referred to as ghost guns. And through that, the ATF established an Emerging Threats Center. And what we're about to talk about is going to go through that new ATF Emerging Threats Center. Machine gun conversion devices. It says they enable semi-automatic firearms, including easily concealable handguns, to match or exceed the rate of fire of many military machine guns with a single engagement of the trigger, up to 20 bullets in 1 second. From 2017 through 21, ATF recovered 5,454 of these devices, a 570% increase over the previous 5-year period. Machine gun conversion devices are illegal to possess under federal law, but we continue to see these devices show up at crime scenes because they are small, cheap, and easy to install. Machine gun conversion devices are often illegally imported or illegally made on a 3D printer from computer code found online. The 3D printing of a machine gun conversion device costs as little as 40 cents and takes fewer than 30 minutes. Yeah, it says they're illegal, right? But they're still showing up on crime scenes, so we have to do something about that. Well, murder's illegal, and that still happens. Drugs are illegal, and that still happens. Yeah, you get the point. They're saying unserialized 3D printed firearms can be used for illegal purposes, such as gun trafficking, unlawful possession by people convicted of felonies or subject to domestic violence restraining orders, or unlawfully engaged in the business of manufacturing or selling firearms. These firearms can be 3D printed from computer code downloaded from the internet and produced without serial numbers that law enforcement use to track firearms recovered in criminal investigations. Some 3D printed firearms can be made to be undetectable by magnetometers used to secure airports, courthouses, and event spaces, even though these undetectable firearms are illegal to make, sell, or possess under federal law. No, they're not. As 3D printing technology continues to develop rapidly, the safety threat posed by 3D printed firearms may suddenly increase. You, as an American, you've been able to make your own guns since before this country was a thing. What's he talking about? Why is it illegal? Well, they passed a new rule that had to do with frames and receivers, and that's what he's saying. This is where the executive actions lead to rules that have the teeth and penalties of a law, which are unconstitutional. But it takes years for lawsuits to get through the system, which is why I'm telling you about this, because there's more coming. Okay, in this executive order, President Biden is establishing an emerging firearms threat task force consisting of leadership from key federal departments and agencies. Biden is directing the task force to issue a report within 90 days that includes an assessment of the threat posed by machine gun conversion devices and unserialized 3D printed firearms, an assessment of federal agencies' operational and legal capacities to detect, intercept, and seize machine gun conversion devices and unserialized 3D printed firearms, and an interagency plan for combating these emerging threats. The report will include any additional authorities or funding the federal agencies need from Congress in order to complete this work. All right, Jared, you said you agreed with one of these executive orders. Which one is it? Well, it's this one, improving school-based active shooter drills. I've done active shooter drills annually for a very long time in several different states, and that is something that all police across the country need to get to be the same, because there are some parts in this country that still don't just go in and address the threat for some reason. First responding officer, your job is to go in and stop the threat. You don't wait for three so you can do a diamond formation. You don't wait for that stuff anymore. You don't wait to set up a response units. You go in and you end the threat. And all I'll say is Uvalde. Well, in addition to these executive orders that are signed today, Biden is directing federal departments and agencies to do some other things that you should know about as well. Encouraging safe storage of firearms. Today, the Department of Education is providing schools, school boards, and policymakers with a new tool to promote safe gun storage in their communities. It's a new website. It includes a map with state safe storage laws, examples of how schools are communicating with parents about safe storage, and examples of local policies on safe storage education. What they want is for everybody who owns a gun to be forced to lock it in a safe, separate from your ammunition, kind of like this state I'm in right now, California. If you follow those, if you follow those laws, not that I'm saying to break any laws, but if you follow those laws, God forbid somebody kicks your door in. Like if somebody kicked that door in right now, and I had to quick run and unlock a safe with ammo, and quick run and unlock my gun and do what I needed to do, time's up. You don't have that much time, but that's what they want. But the other one, there's again trying and forcing into the states are red flag laws. The Department of Justice is announcing over $135 million in formula awards, that's more bribe money, to 48 states under the Burn State Crisis Intervention Program, which provides funding for the implementation of extreme risk protection orders or red flags, programs, state crisis intervention court proceedings, and related program initiatives. The implementation of state red flag laws is supported by the National Extreme Risk Protection Resource Center, a resource center that they started, the Biden administration started to violate your rights with this new bullshit. They want the states to do this because they know it's unconstitutional and they can't get it through Congress. They've tried. They can't get it done. Every year, those bills die. But if we can get the states to do it, well, then we benefit as a federal bureaucracy. And, who cares if the states get sued individually? It doesn't bother us. That's the game. Then they go into a couple sections where they want to enhance background checks again for those under 21. It's taking the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and figuring out more ways to screw more people who are aged 18, 19, and 20 years old, adults, you know, to include red flag laws on them as well. And then they go into a section about expanding data on gun violence and gun trafficking. I just hope and pray that they start right where most of the trafficking happens, and that's with the federal government. The ATF, they traffic guns to different countries, and when they sent money and guns into Mexico with Operation Fast and Furious, those guns that they sent to cartel members were used to kill a U.S. Border Patrol agent. So start right where the big problem lies, Biden, and that's with your people. There's another section I found interesting, is destroying crime guns. They want to ensure the appropriate disposition of firearms seized by law enforcement. It says firearms or parts that are presumed to be destroyed by law enforcement have begun showing up in crimes. Sometimes the guns recovered by law enforcement are sent to a third party that only partially destroys them. By October 30th, the Department of Justice will refresh and clarify best practices for federal law enforcement disposition of seized firearms, including when working in partnership with state and local law enforcement. The Department of Justice will also release a plan to offer new training and education for state and local partners on safe and appropriate firearm disposition. So I wasn't even aware that was happening. So guns that are supposed to be destroyed have not, and they're being given to criminals. That's probably something they should look into. But you know, it's you and me, we're the problem. Then they close it out with this part here: Congress must act. While the Biden-Harris administration's gun violence prevention actions are saving lives, there is much more to do. President Biden and Vice President Harris continue to call on Congress to enact common-sense gun safety legislation, from a ban on assault weapons and bump stocks, to universal background checks, to a repeal of gun manufacturers' immunity from liability, and to enact federal safe storage and red flag laws and fully fund community violence intervention programs and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. So you're now up to date with the new executive orders signed today by President Joe Biden. And let me know what you think of them down below. Do you agree with the one I agreed with? If not, why? And what do you think about the rest of this malarkey, to use Joe Biden's word? I appreciate you all so much, guys and gals. Thank you so much for your time, your trust, and your viewership. Know that it means so much to me. And I hope to keep you informed with everything that the anti-gunners on both sides of the aisle are trying to do to us on a daily basis. If you want to know more, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you join this growing freedom family. Have a great day. Take care.